Have you ever sat in your favorite chair, looked out the window, and suddenly felt a kind of sadness that you couldn't quite explain? Maybe it was the memory of someone you've lost, a regret that still lingers, or just a heavy sense that something's missing. And even though you know life has its ups and downs, there's a quiet part of you wondering, is it supposed to feel this way? If that sounds familiar, please know this: you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not broken. After 60, life brings a mix of experiences, some beautiful, some difficult. Retirement, changes in routine, health shifts, or the loss of friends and loved ones, they all carry emotional weight. And sometimes, when the noise of busy life fades, those feelings become even louder. Pain that we pushed aside years ago begins to surface, and it can leave you wondering if real joy is still possible. But here's something I want you to hear clearly: healing doesn't have an expiration date. No matter your age, no matter how long the sadness has been there, your heart is still capable of feeling lighter. And yes, joy, deep joy, the kind that fills your chest and brings a smile to your face, is absolutely still within reach. In this video, we're going to walk through 5 ways to begin healing emotional pain and rediscover joy, not just moments of happiness, but lasting peace that comes from within. These aren't quick fixes or shallow advice. They're honest, simple practices that can gently open the door to healing and remind you that your life still holds beauty, purpose, and meaning. Let's start with something that seems simple on the surface, but carries incredible power: acknowledging your feelings without judgment. Many of us grew up in a time when emotions weren't always something we talked about openly. Maybe you were taught to tough it out, keep it to yourself, or move on. And while those strategies might have helped you get through tough moments in the past, they can also leave behind a trail of unspoken pain that builds up over time. The truth is, we can't heal what we don't allow ourselves to feel. You might be carrying grief from years ago: a parent, a spouse, a child, a friend. You might feel guilt about something that happened decades back. Or maybe it's a slow, quiet sadness that comes from feeling unseen or forgotten. Whatever it is, give yourself permission to name it. Not to fix it right away, not to explain it or hide it, just to name it, to say, "This hurts," or "I miss them," or "That still makes me sad." That simple act, acknowledging what you feel without shame, is like opening a window in a stuffy room. It lets the air in. It gives you space to breathe. You can do this privately. Write in a journal. Talk out loud when you're alone. Say a prayer. You can also speak to someone you trust: a friend, a counselor, a spiritual guide. But whether you say it aloud or keep it in your heart, your emotions deserve to be heard. Because they're part of your story. And honoring them doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Now, once you begin to allow those feelings to rise, the next step is to find ways to express them. And one of the most healing ways is through creative outlet. You don't have to be a poet, a painter, or a musician to express your feelings creatively. You just have to let yourself make something. That could be writing a letter you never send, drawing a picture that no one else sees, or planting a flower bed in memory of someone you love. It could be playing music that moves you, singing in the car, or cooking a recipe that connects you to the past. There's a reason creativity helps heal emotional wounds. It bypasses logic and speaks directly to the heart. It gives form to feelings that words can't always capture. It doesn't have to be perfect or polished. The act of creating itself is what matters. A woman I once knew, let's call her Anne, started painting at 67 after her husband passed away. She said she'd never picked up a brush in her life, but something in her just needed a way to let the feelings out. She didn't care about technique. She painted memories: her husband's favorite chair, the beach they used to visit, even the view from the hospital window. And with each stroke, she said, the sadness softened a little. Not because it disappeared, but because it had somewhere to go. Your outlet might look different. You might write poems, start a memory scrapbook, or knit scarves for others. Whatever it is, let your hands do the talking. Give your feelings room to move through you. When you create, you begin to transform pain into something new, something meaningful. And speaking of meaning, let's talk about something that helps create a powerful shift: Reconnecting with purpose. After 60, it's common to feel like you've lost some of the roles that gave life structure and meaning. Maybe you're no longer working. Maybe the kids are grown. Maybe you've moved or downsized or said goodbye to people who gave your life its shape. That loss of purpose, that question of what now? It can be incredibly painful, even if we don't always say it out loud. But here's what's beautiful. Purpose isn't something you lose. It's something you rediscover. Your purpose now might not be about a career or raising a family. It might be about nurturing your own spirit. It might be about mentoring others, sharing your story, volunteering, or simply being a source of kindness in someone else's day. Think about the things that make you feel alive. Maybe it's writing letters to your grandchildren, teaching someone how to cook, sitting with a friend who needs support, or even tending to your garden with care and love. These are not small things. These are powerful acts of purpose. And sometimes your purpose is simply to heal, to rest, to feel joy again. That alone is enough. So take a moment right now to ask yourself gently, what gives me a sense of meaning today? The answer doesn't have to be big or life-changing. It just has to be yours. Now that we've touched on the importance of acknowledging emotions, expressing them through creativity, and reconnecting with purpose, you may already feel a soft shift inside. A tiny reminder that yes, healing is possible. That joy isn't something reserved for the past. It's still waiting for you right here in the present. There's something incredibly powerful about simply allowing yourself to feel, really feel, the full weight of what life has given you. Whether it's loss, loneliness, regret, or the quiet ache of change, naming those feelings is where healing starts. And when you take that next step to express them, maybe through creativity or reflection, you begin to release them too. They stop being heavy stones in your pocket and become part of the fabric of who you are, softer, more integrated. And once you start to reconnect with purpose, even in the smallest ways, it can feel like the ground beneath your feet is getting stronger. That sense of drifting begins to settle. You start waking up not with dread but with curiosity. What can I do today that brings a little light? That question alone can change everything. Now let's talk about another essential piece of healing. Something many people overlook, but something that can gently lift the fog of emotional pain and make room for joy again. And that is surrounding yourself with safe, supportive connection. We are social creatures. That doesn't change with age. In fact, the need for connection often grows stronger. But here's the catch: not all connection is created equal. Sometimes we're surrounded by people, yet still feel alone. Other times we isolate because we're afraid of being a burden or just don't have the energy to reach out. But emotional healing is not a solo mission. You don't have to carry everything by yourself. You need people who listen, not just with their ears but with their hearts. People who don't try to fix you or dismiss your pain but who hold space for it. That might be a close friend, a sibling, a counselor, or someone you meet through a support group or local community. And here's the thing: you may need to be the one to take that first step. Not because it's fair, but because your healing matters. You might need to call the friend you haven't spoken to in a while. You might need to ask, "Can we talk?" Or "I'm going through something and could use some company." That kind of vulnerability is scary, but it's also the doorway to connection. Don't underestimate how much others need it too. Everyone is carrying something. You reaching out might be the light someone else has been hoping for. And if you don't have anyone in your immediate circle, there are groups, both in person and online, made for this very reason, to help people find each other. Churches, senior centers, libraries, and even your local YMCA often host gatherings, classes, or conversations for people just like you. One woman I know started attending a grief support group after her husband passed. At first, she said she didn't say a word, she just listened. But after a few weeks, she began to speak. And one day, she found herself laughing again, not because everything was fixed, but because she finally felt less alone. That laugh was the sound of her healing beginning. Sometimes healing means being witnessed. It means being reminded that your feelings are valid, your presence is wanted, and your story still matters. Now, alongside connection with others, there's another kind of relationship that deserves your attention, and that's your relationship with yourself. And that brings us to the next step in healing emotional pain: practicing forgiveness. This one can be tricky, because forgiveness isn't always about someone else. Sometimes the person we most need to forgive is the one we see in the mirror. You might be carrying guilt for something you said, something you didn't do, or simply for not being the person you thought you'd be by now. You might have regrets, we all do, but holding onto those regrets, punishing yourself silently, and replaying what-ifs in your mind that doesn't protect you, it keeps you stuck. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, whether from others or yourself. It simply means choosing to stop carrying the weight of it. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. Maybe you made mistakes, we all have. But you are not the sum of your mistakes. You are not unworthy of joy just because of what you've been through or what you wish you'd done differently. So if you're holding something against yourself, I want you to try something simple. Just say out loud or in your heart, "I forgive you," even if you don't fully believe it yet. Say it again the next day, and the day after that, not because it magically erases the past, but because it opens the door to a new chapter. And if you're holding onto hurt from someone else, someone who disappointed you, abandoned you, or caused you pain, remember that forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. You can forgive someone for you, not for them. You can choose to release the hold their actions have on your heart without inviting them back into your life. Forgiveness is freedom. It doesn't happen all at once, and it doesn't mean forgetting. It means saying, "I choose peace." It means choosing to move forward without the chains of anger or resentment dragging behind you. When you forgive, you make space. Space for compassion, for softness, for joy. And speaking of joy, let's remember what this journey is all about. Not just feeling better, but truly reconnecting with the part of you that still knows how to smile, how to hope, how to be present and feel alive. So often we think joy has to come from big things, a vacation, a new relationship, a big life event. But joy, real joy, often comes in the quiet moments. It's in sipping your favorite tea by the window as the sun rises. It's in the laughter of a phone call with an old friend. It's in hearing a song that brings back a good memory, or watching the birds flutter in your backyard. To heal emotional pain, you have to give yourself permission to enjoy these moments, not because your pain isn't real, but because you are still alive. And life is still offering you little sparks of wonder if you're open to receiving them. Joy isn't the opposite of sadness. It's the companion that walks beside it. The two can coexist. You can grieve and laugh in the same day. You can carry pain and still dance in your kitchen. That's what makes us beautifully human. So open your hands a little. Look around. Feel the air on your skin, the warmth of a smile, the softness of a blanket. These are tiny, sacred joys. And when you stack them day after day, they become a path back to yourself. Let's stay here for a moment, right in that space where healing and joy begin to meet. Because healing doesn't always look dramatic. It doesn't need to be loud or public or sudden. More often than not, it's quiet, it's private. It shows up in the way you get out of bed a little easier. The way you feel a bit more open to the day. The way something makes you smile and you don't immediately feel guilty for it. That's healing. It's subtle, it's soft, but it's real. And the more you nurture it, the more it grows. Let's talk about one final, beautiful way to support your emotional healing and reconnect with joy after 60. And that is learning to live in the present moment. Now, I know that can sound vague, like something you'd hear in a self-help book and forget 5 minutes later. But staying present, truly present, is one of the most powerful things you can do for your emotional well-being. Because here's what emotional pain often does. It either pulls us back into the past, into grief, regret, or longing, or it pushes us into the future with anxiety, fear, or a sense of helplessness. And that tug-of-war between what was and what might be leaves very little room for what is. And what is right now is your life. this breath, this day, this moment. And no matter what you've been through, this moment still belongs to you. Living in the present doesn't mean forgetting your past or ignoring your worries. It means choosing to come back to now over and over again. It means noticing your surroundings, tuning into your senses. Being with yourself just as you are without rushing to fix or figure anything out. You can practice this in simple ways. Take a slow walk and notice the sound of your feet on the sidewalk. Feel the texture of the tree bark or the warmth of the sun on your face. When you eat, really taste your food, don't just chew through it. When you're with someone, put your phone away and be there fully. When a painful thought arises, acknowledge it, then gently bring your attention back to what's in front of you. And when you find your mind drifting, which it will, because that's what minds do, just notice it and come back. Come back again and again. This kind of presence doesn't solve every problem, but it does something just as valuable. It slows you down enough to notice the beauty that still surrounds you. And when you begin to notice beauty, even tiny bits of it, you begin to rebuild your relationship with joy. Joy isn't always loud or bright. Sometimes it's the way a breeze moves through a curtain or the softness of your favorite blanket. It's the sound of birds outside, the scent of something baking, the warmth of your own hands. These things are always there, waiting to be noticed, and they don't require you to be completely healed, only open. Now, if you're wondering whether it's too late for you, maybe you've carried pain for so long it feels like part of who you are, I want you to hear this clearly. It's not too late. Not too late to forgive. Not too late to reconnect. Not too late to laugh, to love, to feel, to heal. Your age doesn't disqualify you from joy. In fact, it may just make your joy deeper, richer, more meaningful, because you've earned it. You've lived enough to know how precious it is. And yes, emotional pain changes you. Loss changes you. Grief reshapes the landscape of your heart, but it doesn't erase your capacity for joy. In fact, healing doesn't mean erasing what happened, it means expanding your heart big enough to hold both the pain and the beauty. You can cry in the morning and still laugh in the afternoon. You can miss someone terribly and still feel excitement about tomorrow. These things don't cancel each other out, they coexist. And that's the human experience, especially after 60. It's layered, it's complex, but it's still alive. So if your heart is hurting right now, if you've been carrying a sadness, a regret, or an invisible weight, I want you to know that what you feel matters. And your healing matters. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to know exactly how, you just have to begin. Begin by feeling what you feel. Begin by expressing it in whatever way helps, writing, painting, talking, walking. Begin by reaching out to someone who makes you feel safe. Begin by forgiving yourself, even if it's just a whisper. Begin by noticing the good, the very small, everyday good, and begin by coming back to this moment again and again. Because healing lives in the moment. And joy lives there too. If this video has spoken to you, if it's opened a door or even just cracked a window, I'd love to hear from you. Scroll down and share in the comments. What's something you're working through, or what's one tiny moment of joy you've noticed recently? And if you think someone else in your life could use this message, send it to them. Sometimes a video like this is the exact thing someone needs to feel less alone. If you haven't already, hit that like button to let us know this helped. It really does help this message reach more people. And subscribe to the channel if you'd like more videos like this, ones that speak to the heart, honor your journey, and remind you how much you still matter. Because you do, you matter. Not just for who you were, but for who you are now. And who you're still becoming. Here's to healing one breath at a time. Here's to joy in all its quiet, everyday forms. And here's to living your best, most wholehearted life at any age.